Okay, Eric, how you doing? All right, this week I chose to go with Boston Terrier parody Playboy cover. I look forward to your critiques. Okay, the first thing I want to mention before we take a look at it is that don't forget this is a poster project. So it's not necessarily a magazine project. So be sure that this information, I know you're saying a parody for a Playboy cover, but let's try to work this and gear this towards a poster presentation as opposed to a magazine cover presentation. Um, and there are some inherent differences. Specifically, the intent of a poster is to gather and maintain the attention of a potential viewer from a greater distance than a magazine cover. Typically, magazine covers are viewed from, at the greatest, would be arm's length. Posters are designed to be viewed and to be able to be seen and deciphered from basically from across a room. So those are really the main differences. So there could be some differences based on the size and scale of typography, the size and scale of the illustration itself. So I just want you to be aware that this project is indeed for a poster and not a magazine cover. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the work itself. And I've got that up that okay, so here we go. Let me just bring that down a little bit so it fits in the window. I think this is a great start. I think this is going to be a fantastic illustration. The line work is beautiful. I love that light colored stroke on the outside of the Boston Terrier. I think that one really neat technique, as opposed to trying to stroke this on the outside, is to include this as a really thick outline and then just include a black stroke. So it's like a little bit of a thicker outline. So it acts more as an outline of the um, illustration than an actual stroke. Try that and see what you think. Just keep working. Some of the inconsistencies are going to come when you start drawing some of the interior portions of the illustration, like the eyes. And here we can see the nose. So you can see that by using this yellow stroke, we have a little bit of an inconsistency in that the strokes on the nose and some of the interior areas are presumably going to be black, while the main exterior stroke is yellow. So you may want to think about that moving forward as well. Now, as far as the mechanics for the poster itself goes, or the page itself, I think this is really an interesting technique where you kind of overlap the title with the illustration. And we see that quite often in magazine design, where the Time, like if they so Time magazine, where the featured image of the subject on the cover of a magazine quite often overlaps the actual masthead or the title area of the magazine. So I think that's interesting. However, I'm not sure if that would be applicable once you transpose this to adhere more to poster than a magazine cover. Okay. Now, as far as this goes right now, typography is a little bit cramped up here. So you've got Man's Best Friend that's really jammed up in that little tiny sliver of an area. One thing I would recommend there is moving the illustration down a little bit in the poster, and then moving this down as well. You could also experiment with scale of the illustration to create more room up there for typography. Of course, I don't need to say the illustration itself is quite underdeveloped. I think it's a fantastic start. The line work is really nice. Good job there. Everything is adding up to what looks like it's going to be a really fantastic little illustration. So let's go ahead and continue work on that. Start employing some shading and highlighting techniques. Review the Welcome to Week 3 announcement. There's some really great resources in there regarding shading and highlight. And then I would say for a poster, so Man's Best Friend, Good Boy, I don't know. I would say something like, let's get some more type down here. Something that kind of defines this a little bit more, like Man's Best Friend, Good Boy, introducing the Boston Terrier, exclamation point, the world's most whatever dynamic and sensational dog, exclamation point, something like that, right? So you're making a connection between the subject, the visual subject, and the subject of the piece itself. So you want to draw a tie between, instead of just saying, okay, Man's Best Friend, Good Boy, here's a picture of a dog, let's call it a day. Let's add more meaning there, defining the reason, giving the viewer the reasoning. Why is the Good Boy a Boston Terrier? Why is this showing a Boston Terrier? So I think the best way to do that is just add some subtext regarding the Boston Terrier. You can make it a parody if you want. That would be great. Introducing the world's mightiest dog or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So make it fun, make it interesting, and most of all, make it interesting visually compelling by really pushing your illustrative techniques. Okay, yeah, that's what I have. Also, don't forget to use the required typefaces when you add the additional type here. I think one interesting thing to do would be to place the type. Since this is overlapping the type at the top, make the type overlap the illustration on the bottom. Okay, so think about it, keep working, and if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any clarifications that are necessary. Thank you very much.